7 bodyguards disappeared without a trace from Senator Adana Okafor's mansion. Each one vanished within 3 months of employment, leaving behind only whispered warnings and unanswered questions. The 8th man, Chidi Okonkwo, a former soldier with nothing left to lose, took the cursed position anyway. He needed the money for his dying sister. What he discovered behind those golden gates would expose a secret so dark, it could destroy the most powerful woman in the country, or save her soul. Act 1, Setup Scene 1, Protagonist Introduction. Chidi Okonkwo stood at the gates of the employment agency, his worn army boots gathering dust from the Abuja streets. At 32, his shoulders still carried the posture of a soldier, though his eyes held the exhaustion of a man who'd fought too many battles, some on foreign soil, others in hospital corridors. The morning sun beat down mercilessly as he clutched the crumpled newspaper advertisement. Bodyguard needed. Senator's residence. Excellent pay. The salary listed could cover Amara's next 3 months of dialysis treatments. That's all that mattered. Just 3 months, he thought, fingers tracing the scar along his jawline. I can survive anything for 3 months. His phone buzzed. A text from the hospital, treatment tomorrow. Please confirm payment. Chidi's bank account held exactly 43,000 naira. The treatment cost 200,000. He'd already sold everything, his father's watch, his military medals, even the motorcycle that had been his only reliable transportation. Now he walked everywhere, his feet blistered, his pride shredded. But Amara was all he had left. Their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. She was only 19 then, bright-eyed and heading to university. Then the kidney disease struck like lightning, stealing her future one dialysis session at a time. The agency door opened. A woman in a tight pencil skirt eyed him skeptically. "You're here for the senator's position?" Her tone suggested she'd already decided he wasn't suitable. "Yes, ma'am." "Do you know why the position is still open?" She raised an eyebrow. 7 men before you. All quit within months. Some say the senator is difficult. Chidi straightened. I served 3 tours in Mali. I think I can handle difficult. She studied him, his clean but faded shirt, his carefully polished old boots, the quiet desperation poorly masked by dignity. The pay is substantial because the job is demanding. Senator Okafor has specific requirements. Absolute loyalty. Complete discretion. No questions asked. She paused meaningfully. Ever. I understand. Do you? Her eyes narrowed. The last bodyguard left without collecting his final paycheck. Just disappeared in the middle of the night. The one before that lasted 6 weeks. They say the senator has a temper that could melt steel. Chidi thought of Amara's pale face, the way she smiled bravely through the pain. When do I start? Scene 2, Antagonist Introduction. Senator Adana Okafor's convoy pulled up to the National Assembly building like a military operation. 3 black SUVs, windows tinted darker than midnight, engines purring with expensive precision. Security personnel materialized from the lead vehicle, scanning the area with practiced efficiency before her door opened. She emerged like royalty, tall, imposing, wrapped in custom-tailored ankara that probably cost more than most people's yearly salary. At 45, she commanded attention effortlessly. Her skin was flawless, her makeup immaculate, her expression cold enough to freeze flame. Move, she snapped at a junior minister who'd inadvertently blocked her path. Everyone scattered. Senator Okafor didn't walk through crowds, crowds parted for her. 20 years in politics had honed her into something sharp and untouchable. She'd clawed her way from local government to the Senate, leaving rivals broken in her wake. People whispered that she kept files on everyone, secrets, scandals, weaknesses catalogued and ready to deploy. Her office occupied the entire top floor, decorated with awards, photographs of her with presidents and diplomats, expensive art that screamed power. But beneath the polished exterior, something festered. Her eyes held a peculiar intensity, a barely contained fury that occasionally flashed through her controlled facade. "Where is he?" she demanded of her chief of staff, Emeka, a thin man who perpetually looked terrified. "The new bodyguard, ma'am? He arrives tomorrow." "Did the agency explain the rules?" "Yes, Senator. He signed the extended non-disclosure agreement." "Good." She turned to the window overlooking Abuja's skyline, her reflection ghost-like in the glass. "This one needs to last longer than the others. I'm tired of training replacements." Emeka hesitated. "Ma'am, perhaps if we what?" Her voice dropped to a lethal whisper. "If I were more accommodating? More pleasant? Should I smile and tolerate incompetence like those weak fools downstairs?" "No, ma'am. The problem isn't me, Emeka. The problem is that everyone in this country is soft. Lazy. Entitled." She gripped the window frame. "Nobody understands what it takes to survive. To truly survive." Behind her desk sat a locked cabinet. Inside, 7 resignation letters, hastily written, some with shaking handwriting. She kept them as reminders. Of what, she never said. Scene 3, the inciting incident. Chidi's first day began at 4:30 in the morning. The senator's mansion sprawled across 3 acres in Asakoro, surrounded by walls topped with electric fencing and security cameras that tracked every angle. The house itself looked like a fortress, modern, angular, built from imported materials that gleamed unnaturally in the early light. The head of household security, Mr. Bacha, met him at the gate. An older man with military bearing and tired eyes. "Listen carefully," Bacha said, walking Chidi through the grounds. "The senator has specific routines. She wakes at 5. Expects her coffee at 5:15, exactly 72 degrees Celsius. She exercises for 40 minutes. Breakfast at 6:30. You'll escort her to every appointment, every meeting, every public appearance. You stand where she tells you to stand. You speak only when spoken to. You look at who she tells you to look at." They passed a garden maintained to obsessive perfection, every plant geometrically placed. "And the previous bodyguards?" Chidi asked. Batch's expression closed. "Did their jobs poorly?" 7 of them? The senator has exacting standards." Batcha stopped walking. "I'll give you one piece of advice. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, keep it to yourself. This job pays well because discretion is more valuable than security skills. Understand?" Before Chidi could respond, a voice cut through the morning air like a whip crack. "Bacha." Senator Okafor stood on the second-floor balcony, already dressed in workout clothes that probably cost more than Chidi's monthly salary. Her eyes fixed on them with laser intensity. "Is that the new one?" "Yes, Senator." She descended the exterior stairs with predatory grace, each step deliberate. When she reached them, she circled Chidi slowly, evaluating him like merchandise. "You're older than the others," she observed. "Military?" "Yes, ma'am. Nigerian army. 3 tours, I didn't ask for your biography." She stopped in front of him. "I asked one question. Answer only what I ask. First rule." Chidi's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "You have family?" He hesitated. Bacha had warned him, answer only what's asked. "A sister." Something flickered in the senator's eyes. "Sick?" How did she know? Chidi kept his voice steady. "Yes, ma'am." "So you're desperate." "Good. Desperate men work harder." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Second rule, you'll see things in this house. Personal things. Private things. You'll hear conversations, witness meetings, observe my life in intimate detail. All of that dies with you. If I discover you've spoken to anyone, journalists, friends, family, even a priest, I will destroy you so completely, you'll wish you'd never been born. Am I clear?" "Yes, ma'am." Third rule, Never ask me about the previous bodyguards. Don't mention them. Don't wonder about them. As far as you're concerned, they never existed. She walked away, leaving Chitty standing in the perfect garden, a chill running down his spine despite the heat. Batch's hand gripped his shoulder. Welcome to hell, son. Scene 4, Secret Observer introduced Dr. Obioma Nwosu watched the entire interaction from her car parked discreetly across the street. As the senator's personal physician for 8 years, she had special access to the compound, arriving early for the senator's monthly health check. But lately, her visits had become diagnostic missions of a different kind. She'd treated the 7 previous bodyguards for stress-related symptoms, insomnia, anxiety, mysterious bruises they couldn't quite explain. 2 had shown signs of psychological trauma. All had left suddenly, refusing to discuss their experiences even under patient confidentiality. Through her windshield, she studied the new bodyguard. Something about him seemed different, steadier, perhaps. Or maybe just more damaged. She'd read his file. Former soldier. Decorated. Honorably discharged after his unit was ambushed. Sole survivor. Now caring for a dying sister. Another desperate man, Obioma thought sadly. Exactly what she wants. She'd been the senator's friend once, back in university. The Adana she'd known then was fierce but fair, passionate about justice, determined to change the world. That woman had died slowly over 2 decades, replaced by this cold, controlled creature who kept people at a distance and secrets in locked cabinets. Obioma had stayed close, hoping to understand what had poisoned her friend. Hoping, perhaps, to save whatever remained of the girl who'd once shared dreams and laughter in cramped dormitory rooms. But the senator had walls now, high and reinforced. She'd allowed Obioma to remain in her orbit only because physicians are bound by confidentiality laws. Their relationship had become transactional, health checks, prescription refills, the occasional midnight call when the senator's insomnia spiraled into something darker. The bodyguards, though, they were different. They saw too much. Got too close. And one by one, something drove them away. Obioma pulled out her notebook, adding Chitty's name to the list. Beside it, she wrote, Day 1. Seems resilient. Give him 4 weeks. She prayed she'd underestimated him. Because whatever secret the senator was protecting, it was consuming her from the inside. And soon, there'd be nothing left to save. But this Chitty, Obioma mused, watching him follow Bacha into the house, he has nothing left to lose. Men like that are either the first to break, or the last to surrender. ACT 2, Rising Action Scene 5, Aftermath and daily struggle. The first week passed in a blur of rigid schedules and tense silence. Chitty learned quickly that Senator Okafor operated on 3 modes, coldly professional in public, sharply critical in private, and eerily silent during the hours between midnight and dawn when she wandered the mansion like a ghost. He escorted her to committee meetings where she eviscerated colleagues with surgical precision. He stood outside conference rooms while she made phone calls that left grown men sweating. He watched her charm diplomats with practiced smiles that never reached her eyes. But it was the midnight wandering that disturbed him most. On his 4th night, he woke to footsteps in the corridor. Following protocol, he checked, the senator wore a silk robe, moving barefoot through dark hallways, touching walls as if seeking something hidden in the plaster. She ended in a locked room on the 3rd floor, standing before the door for long minutes before returning to bed. He never mentioned it. First rule, don't speak unless spoken to. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from Amara's nurse. Each treatment cost a fortune. His first paycheck would cover 3 sessions, giving him breathing room. But the stress of working for Senator Okafor was eating him alive. You look terrible, Amara said when he visited the hospital on his day off. She lay in the dialysis chair, tubes connecting her to the machine that kept her alive. At 24, she should have been finishing university, chasing dreams. Instead, she spent 3 days a week hooked to this mechanical salvation. Work is demanding, Chitty admitted, pulling a chair close. The senator everyone talks about? Amara's eyes widened. The Iron Lady? Chitty, they say she's ruthless. She pays well. What's she like? Chitty thought of the senator's midnight wanderings, her explosive anger over microscopic imperfections, the way she sometimes stared at nothing with an expression of pure anguish. Complicated, he said finally. Amara squeezed his hand. Be careful. People don't become that powerful by being kind. On his way out, he stopped by the hospital billing office. His paycheck had cleared. He paid for 3 treatments in advance, feeling the first genuine relief in months. Just survive 3 months, he told himself. Then find something else. But the universe, it seemed, had different plans. Scene 6, first anonymous gift. The note appeared on his bed in the staff quarters, a small room in the mansion's west wing, furnished with basic necessities and a window overlooking the garden. He noticed it immediately when returning from an 18-hour shift. A plain white envelope on his pillow, unsealed, containing a handwritten message on expensive paper, "You carry your burdens with dignity. That's rare. Please accept this small assistance." Inside the envelope, 50,000 naira in crisp bills. Chitty's first instinct was suspicion. He checked the door, locked from the outside, as he'd left it. The windows were secured. Someone had access to his room, to his private space. Someone who knew about his financial struggles. His second instinct was to return the money. He didn't accept charity, especially from unknown sources. But his phone buzzed, another message from the hospital. Amara's next treatment was scheduled for tomorrow, and he was 5,000 naira short after paying rent. Someone who knows my situation, he thought, studying the handwriting. Elegant, educated, definitely not the senator's harsh scrawl he'd seen on documents. He counted the bills 3 times. Real. Clean. Anonymous. The note mentioned dignity. Someone had been watching him, evaluating him, judging him worthy of help. The thought was simultaneously comforting and disturbing. That night, he asked Bacha if the senator had cameras in the staff quarters. Only in the hallways, Bacha replied. Why? Just wondering about security protocols. Bacha studied him carefully. If something strange happens here, boy, don't try to understand it. Just keep your head down and do your job. Chitty used the money for Amara's treatment. But he kept the note, tucked in his wallet, a mystery waiting to unfold. Scene 7, Observer's Investigation. Dr. Obioma Nwosu sat in her clinic office, scrolling through information she probably shouldn't have accessed. Medical records, employment files, bank statements, all obtained through connections in the hospital and government databases. Technically illegal. Morally justified, she told herself. Chidi Okonkwo's file painted a picture of quiet heroism. Decorated soldier who'd carried wounded comrades through hostile territory. Honorably discharged after surviving an ambush that killed 15 men. No disciplinary actions. Multiple commendations. Then, civilian life, a string of low-paying security jobs, each one ending when medical bills mounted and he needed something better. His sister's diagnosis 3 years ago. The progressive deterioration of her kidneys. The astronomical cost of keeping her alive. He'd sold everything. Borrowed from friends until they stopped answering calls. Applied for loans that were denied. And now, he worked for a woman who chewed through bodyguards like disposable tissue. Obioma had left the money. It had taken careful planning, waiting until he was on duty, bribing a cleaning staff member to place the envelope, ensuring no cameras captured her involvement. Why? She wasn't entirely sure herself. Perhaps because she saw in Chitty something she'd seen in Adana long ago, resilience forged in fire, dignity maintained despite circumstances, strength that didn't require cruelty. Or perhaps because she needed to know if a good man could survive the senator's toxicity. If he could last, maybe there was hope for Adana too. Obioma pulled up the senator's medical records. The insomnia had worsened. Blood pressure elevated. Stress markers concerning. And still, Adana refused to discuss what haunted her, what drove her to push everyone away, what secret she protected with such vicious determination. The locked room, Obioma thought. She'd asked about it once. The senator's response had been ice. That room is none of your concern, doctor. Focus on my health, not my home. But health and home were intertwined. Whatever was in that room was poisoning Adana from the inside. Obioma made a decision. She would help Chidi survive. Anonymously, carefully, giving him just enough support to withstand the storm. And through him, maybe she'd finally understand what had broken her friend. She wrote a second note, your sister will get the care she needs. Keep your faith. Tomorrow, she'd find a way to deliver it. Scene 8, antagonist escalates Senator Okafor through a coffee cup at the wall. It shattered, spraying liquid and ceramic across the imported wallpaper. Chidi stood at attention, expression neutral, though his muscles tensed for action. Incompetent fools, she screamed, pacing her office like a caged predator. 3 months of work destroyed by idiots who can't follow simple instructions. The cause, a legislative bill she'd carefully crafted, had been amended by opponents. Political maneuvering had outflanked her for once. It wasn't even a significant loss, just a minor adjustment. But to Senator Okafor, any loss was intolerable. She grabbed files from her desk and hurled them. Papers scattered like snow. Get out, she snarled at Emeka, who fled. Chidi remained, as protocol demanded. The bodyguard stays unless explicitly dismissed. She noticed him. What are you looking at? Nothing, ma'am. Nothing? She laughed bitterly. You think I'm crazy? Unstable. Like all the others. I think you're under significant stress, ma'am. Wrong answer. She crossed the room in 3 strides, standing inches from him. I don't need a soldier's psychology. I need competence. Loyalty. Silence. Her voice dropped. Do you know what happens to people who disappoint me? No, ma'am. They disappear. She held his gaze. Not literally. But their careers end. Their reputations crumble. They learn that crossing Adana Okafor has consequences. She turned away, and for a moment, her shoulders sagged. Just a moment. Then the armor snapped back into place. Clean this up, she ordered. Then bring Dr. Nwosu when she arrives. I need something for these headaches. As Chidi knelt to collect broken ceramic, he noticed something, a photograph among the scattered papers. A much younger Senator Okafor, smiling genuinely, standing with a little girl. The child had the same intense eyes, the same proud posture. He picked up the photo to return it to the desk. The senator snatched it from his hand so violently, she cut her finger on a paper edge. Don't touch that, she hissed. Never touch that. Blood dripped onto the photograph. She clutched it to her chest, breathing hard, eyes wide with something that looked like panic. Then, just as suddenly, she composed herself. Laid the photo in a drawer. Wrapped her finger in a tissue. Forget you saw that, she said quietly. Add it to the list of things you'll never mention. After she left, Chidi found a single drop of blood on the floor. He wiped it away, but the image haunted him, the senator, momentarily vulnerable, protecting a photograph with the desperation of someone guarding their last piece of humanity. Scene 9, second and third gifts. The second envelope arrived a week later, tucked under the windshield wiper of the senator's car, placed there while Chidi was inside fetching her briefcase. Only 30 seconds alone with the vehicle, and someone had known exactly when. This note read, "Strength isn't the absence of fear. It's courage despite it. For your sister's medication. 100,000 naira. Chidi looked around the parking garage, but saw only shadows and concrete. Whoever was helping him moved like smoke. He should have reported it. Protocol demanded transparency about unusual incidents. But the money meant Amara could afford the new medication her doctor recommended, expensive pills that might slow the kidney deterioration. That night, he asked Dr. Nwosu about it. She came weekly to check the senator's vitals, always professional, always kind to the staff. "Someone's been leaving me money," he said carefully, during a moment when they were alone in the hallway. "Oh?" She didn't look up from her medical bag. "Anonymous donations. They know about my sister. Perhaps someone who appreciates your work." She met his eyes. "Does it bother you? Being helped? I don't like mysteries. Sometimes mysteries are gifts in disguise." She smiled gently. "If someone wants to help without recognition, maybe accept it graciously. The world has enough pride and too little compassion." Before he could respond, the senator called for her. The third gift came 2 weeks later, during a particularly brutal period when the senator's mood had darkened to something almost dangerous. She'd been sleeping even less, snapping at everyone, spending hours in her study reviewing documents with obsessive focus. This time, the envelope contained medical bills, Amara's next 5 treatments, already paid. The note was brief: "Resilience deserves support. You're stronger than you know." Chidi sat on his bed, hands shaking. This wasn't small help anymore. This was someone with resources, with access to hospital records, with knowledge of his exact needs. He pulled out his phone and called Amara. "The hospital says my treatments are covered," she said, confused and delighted. "For the next month." "Did you?" "Chidi, how?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Someone's helping us." "Who?" "I wish I knew." But as he lay awake that night, he considered the possibilities. Bacha? No, the man barely made more than him. Another senator? Unlikely. Staff members? They struggled themselves. That left Dr. Nwosu or, he hardly dared think it, the senator herself. But Senator Okafor showed no kindness to anyone. She barely acknowledged he existed beyond barked orders and criticism. Unless her midnight wanderings meant something else. Unless beneath the ice lived remnants of the person she'd once been. Unless she was capable of compassion but expressed it in secret, too damaged to show vulnerability. The thought should have been comforting. Instead, it terrified him. Because if the senator was his anonymous benefactor, what did she want in return? Scene 10, protagonist's small victory. 3 months into the job, Chidi was still alive, literally and professionally. He'd outlasted the previous 7 bodyguards, a fact not lost on the household staff who began treating him with cautious respect. Bacha pulled him aside one morning. "You're doing something right, son. Whatever it is, keep doing it. I just follow protocol." "No." Bacha shook his head. "The others followed protocol too. You do something else. You don't react to her anger. You don't judge her. You just persist." That evening, something unprecedented happened. Senator Okafor had a public event, a fundraiser for education reform, full of cameras and politicians and wealthy donors. Chidi stood at his position by the entrance, scanning the crowd, when a reporter approached the senator with hostile questions about corruption allegations. The situation escalated. The reporter became aggressive, physically blocking her path. Security hesitated, unsure how to intervene without creating a scene. Chidi moved smoothly between them. No aggression, no violence. Just positioning himself as an immovable obstacle while maintaining polite firmness. "The senator has answered your questions," he said calmly. "Please step back, sir." The reporter tried to push past. Chidi didn't budge. His military training showed grounded stance, controlled breathing, absolute steadiness. The reporter eventually backed off, and the senator continued to her car. In the vehicle, she was silent for a long moment. Then, "That was good work." Chidi blinked. "Ma'am?" "Effective. No drama. No media circus." She looked at him properly for the first time in 3 months. "You actually know how to do this job." It was the closest thing to praise he'd heard from her. More surprisingly, she added, I'm increasing your salary. 20%. You've earned it. When they returned to the mansion, Emeka handed him a revised contract. The raise was substantial. More than substantial, it meant he could afford better treatment options for Amara, maybe even save for the kidney transplant she'd eventually need. Thank you, ma'am, he said when he next saw her. She waved it away. Don't thank me. Just keep doing your job without becoming a liability. But there was something different in her expression. A crack in the armor, barely visible. For a heartbeat, she looked almost relieved. As if having someone competent around eased a burden she carried alone. Scene 11, the sabotage. The change in dynamics didn't go unnoticed. Emeka, the chief of staff who'd served the senator for 12 years, watched Chidi's rising favor with growing resentment. Emeka had built his position on being indispensable, on knowing all the senator's secrets and managing her volatile moods. Now this bodyguard was receiving praise, raises, and worst of all, trust. Emeka had his own secrets, of course. Financial irregularities he'd carefully hidden in the senator's campaign accounts. Nothing huge, just small diversions that added up over the years to a comfortable nest egg. If the senator ever audited the books thoroughly, he'd be destroyed. She'd been too distracted lately to notice. But if Chidi kept earning her confidence, if he started handling more responsibilities, someone might look closer at the numbers. This bodyguard needs to go, Emeka decided. Like the others. He'd helped drive away 3 of the previous 7. Anonymous complaints about their behavior, subtle sabotage of their work, carefully planted doubts in the senator's mind. It was easier than people realized to destroy trust. The opportunity came during a high-security briefing. Sensitive documents, classified budget information for a defense contract, were stored in the senator's private office. Only 3 people had access, the senator, Emeka, and the current bodyguard. Emeka made a copy of the most sensitive document. Then he leaked it to a journalist known for exposing government corruption. 2 days later, the story broke. Headlines screamed about secret defense spending. Opposition parties called for investigations. The senator was summoned to explain how confidential information had been exposed. She returned to the mansion like a storm given human form. Who? She roared, slamming doors. Who betrayed me? Staff scattered. Chidi stood his ground as she bore down on him. Only 3 people had access, she hissed. Me. Emeka. And you. Ma'am, I never, don't lie to me. She was shaking with fury. Do you know what this leak has cost? My political enemies are calling for my head. Everything I built, Senator, I would never compromise your security. Then how did this happen? She was inches from his face. Emeka has been with me for 12 years. You've been here 3 months. You tell me who the logical suspect is. Ma'am, someone is trying to frame, get out. She pointed at the door. You're suspended. Leave the premises. Don't come back until I decide whether to press charges for espionage. Senator, please, now. Chidi left, his heart hammering. Outside, Emeka watched from a window, satisfaction barely concealed. In his pocket, the flash drive containing the original document, insurance, in case he needed to prove it came from the bodyguard's computer, where he'd briefly plugged it while Chidi was on patrol rounds. Frame a desperate man with access and motive. Destroy his credibility. Then watch as he disappeared like the others. Scene 12, Observer steps in. Dr. Obioma Nwosu learned about the leak that evening when the senator called, demanding sleeping pills. This betrayal, Obioma, Adana said, her voice raw with exhaustion. After everything, to be stabbed in the back by someone I trusted, are you certain it was Chidi? Who else? Emeka is loyal. He's been with me through everything. Obioma bit her tongue. She'd never trusted Emeka, found him sycophantic and calculating. But Adana was blind to the flaws of those who'd been around longest. Did you investigate thoroughly? What's to investigate? Only 3 had access. I know it wasn't me. After the call ended, Obioma sat and thought. Chidi didn't fit the profile of a traitor. Desperate men steal money, not documents. They don't risk their livelihood when they finally have stability. She made calls. Her connections in media, in government, in the hospital where she volunteered. By midnight, she had a preliminary picture. The leak had come from a burner email account, sent from an internet cafe in Garki district. The cafe had security cameras. Obioma knew the owner. She'd treated his daughter for pneumonia last year. It took 50,000 naira and a promise of discretion, but she got the footage. There, timestamped to exactly when the leak was sent, Emeka, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, using a public terminal. Obioma copied the footage, then dug deeper. Hospital contacts helped her access Emeka's medical records. She found something interesting. He'd been treated for severe anxiety 3 months ago, right when Chidi arrived. The prescription notes mentioned stress about job security and fear of replacement. She compiled everything into a digital file, then faced a dilemma. Present it to Adana directly? The senator might reject it, might see it as Obioma overstepping boundaries. Their friendship was already strained. Or give the evidence to Chidi, let him defend himself. She chose the latter. She owed him that much. He'd unknowingly been her experiment in whether good men could survive her friend's toxicity. Scene 13, Vindication. Chidi sat in his small apartment, the one he'd almost lost before this job, staring at his phone. Messages from Amara, worried. Messages from the hospital, asking about the next payment. Messages from Bacha, cryptic, don't give up yet. Then, a knock on his door. Dr. Nwosu stood there, holding a tablet. May I come in? Doctor? How did you? I have your address from the senator's files. She entered, setting the tablet on his small table. You're being framed. I have proof. The footage played. Emeka at the internet cafe, timestamp matching the leak exactly. Chidi's hands clenched. That bastard, there's more. She showed him the medical records, the pattern of anxiety, the financial irregularities she'd discovered with help from a forensic accountant friend. Why are you helping me? Chidi asked. Obioma chose her words carefully. Because I've watched 7 good men destroyed by working for the senator. I don't want to watch an 8th. And because. She paused. Because if someone like you can survive in her orbit, maybe there's hope she can be saved from herself. She won't believe this. She trusts Emeka completely. She trusts evidence more than people. Obioma stood. Present this tomorrow. Request a formal review. She's many things, but she's not unjust when facts are clear. That night, Chidi barely slept. The next morning, he returned to the mansion, security initially blocking him until he insisted on speaking to Senator Okafor. She received him in her office, expression arctic. You have 5 minutes before I call the police. Ma'am, I have evidence. He connected the tablet to her display screen. The security footage played. Her eyes widened. This could be fabricated, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Check the timestamp against your records. Verify with the cafe. And there's this. He showed the financial discrepancies. For 10 minutes, Senator Okafor examined the data in silence. Then she picked up her phone. Emeka. Come to my office. Now. When Emeka arrived, confident and smiling, the senator hit play. The color drained from his face. Senator, I can explain how you're in this video at the exact time the leak was sent. Explain these financial irregularities? Explain why you tried to destroy a man who's done nothing but serve loyally? Emeka stammered, tried to deflect, then finally collapsed into confession. I was protecting us. He's an outsider. You don't know what he might discover. Discover what, Emeka? Her voice was deadly quiet. That you've been stealing from me? That you're so insecure you'd commit treason to eliminate competition? Senator, please, get out. You have 1 hour to clear your desk. If you're still on these grounds after that, I'll have you arrested. Emeka fled. The senator sat heavily in her chair, looking older suddenly. I'm sorry, ma'am, Chidi said quietly. For what you're going through. She looked at him strangely. You're apologizing to me? After I accused you, suspended you, nearly destroyed your life? You were acting on the information you had. Most people would be screaming at me right now. Demanding apologies. Threatening lawsuits. I'm not most people, ma'am. Something shifted in her expression. Walls cracking, just slightly. No. You're not. She stood, extending her hand formally. Thank you for your integrity, Mr. Okonkwo. Your suspension is lifted. Your salary is doubled. And I owe you an apology. That's not something I say often. Apology accepted, ma'am. As he left, she called after him. How did you get this evidence? A friend who believes in justice, he said truthfully. After he'd gone, Senator Okafor sat alone, staring at the security footage. Emeka's betrayal cut deep, but deeper still was the realization that Chidi had forgiven her instantly, without conditions or resentment. When was the last time someone had shown her such grace? She couldn't remember. ACT 3, Climax and Resolution Scene 14, big reveal setup after Emeka's exposure. Senator Okafor's behavior shifted in ways subtle but significant. She spoke to Chidi more, asked his opinions occasionally, even showed flashes of dry humor. The midnight wanderings decreased. She slept better. Dr. Obioma noticed during her weekly visits. You seem improved. I fired a traitor and kept someone loyal, the senator replied. That's good business. Is that all it is? The senator's eyes narrowed. What else would it be? You could have hired any qualified bodyguard after Emeka. Instead, you doubled Chidi's salary and gave him more responsibilities. Almost like, you trust him. Trust is earned. And he's earned it. Obioma prepared her medical equipment. Adana, when was the last time you let someone trustworthy into your life? Really let them in? The senator's expression closed. I don't need therapy, doctor. Just check my blood pressure. But the question haunted her. When had she last trusted anyone? Years ago. Before the incident. Before the locked room. Before she'd learned that vulnerability was a weapon others used against you. That night, she stood before the locked third-floor room again. The key hung on a chain around her neck, always. She touched the door but didn't open it. Inside lay the truth of why she pushed everyone away. Why bodyguards never lasted. Why she built walls so high, even friends couldn't scale them. Maybe it was time. Maybe this man who'd shown such resilience, such grace, such quiet strength, maybe he could handle the truth without running. Without pitying her. Without using it against her. She made a decision. Scene 15, the event. Senator Okafor summoned Chidi to her study one evening. He found her holding an envelope, expensive paper, formal invitation. There's a charity gala next week, she said. High profile. Government officials, diplomats, media. I need security, obviously, but... She hesitated, which was so unusual, it made him alert. I'd like you to attend as a guest, not just a bodyguard. Ma'am? You've proven yourself more than competent. Loyal. Discreet. I think it's time people knew I employ exceptional individuals, not just warm bodies in suits. She handed him the invitation. There will be a formal dinner. Dancing. Speeches. Dress code is black tie. Chidi looked at the invitation, feeling something like panic. Ma'am, I don't own a tuxedo. Or formal wear. I can't, that will be provided. You'll find an appropriate wardrobe delivered to your quarters tomorrow. She waved away his protest. Consider it part of your employment benefits. The next day, as promised, several garment bags arrived. Inside, a perfectly tailored tuxedo, custom shirts, shoes that probably cost more than his old monthly rent. A note in elegant handwriting: every soldier deserves armor for different battles. He recognized the handwriting from the anonymous notes. His mysterious benefactor and his employer were connected, if not the same person. Amara, when he told her, was thrilled. You're going to a gala? With senators and diplomats. Chitty, this is amazing. I don't belong in that world, he admitted. You belong anywhere your integrity takes you, she said firmly. Go. Represent us well. Show them what real strength looks like. The night of the gala, Chitty dressed carefully, feeling like an imposter in expensive fabric. When he emerged from his quarters, Bacha whistled. You clean up well, soldier. The senator descended the main staircase moments later, wearing a gown that shimmered like midnight water, her hair styled elegantly, her makeup softer than usual. She looked almost vulnerable. Ready? She asked. As I'll ever be, ma'am. In the car, she was quiet for a long time. Then, I'm not good at this. Ma'am? Trusting people. Letting them close. I built walls because walls keep you safe. But they also keep you alone. She looked at him. You've seen me at my worst. My anger, my paranoia, my midnight instability. You haven't run. Why? Chitty considered his answer carefully. Because everyone carries pain, ma'am. Rank and money don't exempt you from suffering. I don't run from pain. I try to understand it. She turned away, but not before he saw her eyes glisten. Scene 16, identity reveal. The gala was everything Chitty expected: opulent, crowded, full of people radiating wealth and power. He stuck close to the senator, scanning for threats, but she kept pulling him into conversations, introducing him as my chief of security with unexpected pride. Dr. Obioma appeared at one point, elegant in a green gown. She smiled at Chitty knowingly. Midway through the evening, the senator stepped onto the stage for her scheduled speech. But instead of her prepared remarks about education funding, she went off script. Ladies and gentlemen, forgive me for departing from tonight's agenda. But there's something I need to say. She scanned the crowd, finding Chitty. For years, I built a reputation as someone uncompromising. Strong. Unbending. What people call these things publicly, I won't repeat. Soft laughter. But strength isn't what I thought it was. The room grew still. I've had 7 bodyguards in 3 years. Good men, all of them. I drove them away with impossible standards and volcanic anger because I thought that's what leadership required. I thought vulnerability was weakness. Trust was foolishness. Kindness was liability. Her voice wavered. I was wrong. She gestured to Chitty. This man has served me for 4 months. He's endured my worst moods, been falsely accused, suspended unjustly, and not once has he responded with anything but dignity and grace. He's taught me something I'd forgotten, that true strength is compassion under pressure. That resilience means extending grace when you've been wronged. Chitty felt hundreds of eyes turn to him. He wanted to disappear. But there's more, the senator continued. I've also been helping him secretly. Anonymous gifts, paid medical bills for his sister who's fighting kidney disease. I told myself I was just being practical, good employees should be supported. But the truth is. She paused, emotion raw in her voice. The truth is, I saw in him something I'd lost. Hope. Humanity. The belief that we can carry our burdens without letting them poison us. She descended from the stage, walking directly to him. I've been your anonymous benefactor, she said quietly, for his ears only. I've been watching you carry your sister's illness with such grace, and it reminded me of someone I lost. Someone who taught me that love is worth the risk of pain. Ma'am, his voice caught. Let me finish. She took a breath. I had a daughter. Chioma. She died when she was 7. A rare illness. I spent everything trying to save her. When she died, something in me died too. I became the woman everyone fears because feeling nothing was easier than feeling grief. Tears slipped down her face. But watching you fight for your sister, I remembered what it was to love someone more than your own life. You've given me back a piece of myself I thought was dead. The ballroom was absolutely silent. I don't expect forgiveness for how I've treated you, she continued. But I want you to know, you've changed me. Your persistence, your kindness, your refusal to become bitter despite every reason to be. That's real power. She held out a folder. I've arranged for Amara to be placed on the priority transplant list. I'm covering all costs. And I'm establishing a foundation for families facing medical crises, in Chioma's name. I want you to help me run it. Chidi took the folder with shaking hands. Inside, hospital documents, financial commitments, a job offer with a salary that would change his life. Why, he whispered. Because you reminded me who I was before grief turned me to stone. Because you deserved better than I gave you. Because. She smiled through tears. Because real strength is admitting when you're wrong and trying to be better. The room erupted in applause. Dr. Obioma was crying openly. Other guests wiped their eyes. Chidi looked at this powerful woman who'd hidden so much pain behind cruelty, and he understood finally what the midnight wandering meant. She'd been visiting a locked room full of memories, touching a door she couldn't open, trapped by grief she couldn't process. Thank you, he said simply. For the help. For the honesty. For trusting me with your truth. Thank you, she replied, for not running when you saw my darkness. Scene 17, Antagonist's downfall. The gala's revelation rippled through political circles like an earthquake. Senator Adana Okafor, known for her icy demeanor, had publicly shown vulnerability. Some saw it as weakness. Others saw courage. But the most significant impact was personal. The next morning, the senator stood before the locked third-floor room, Chidi beside her at her request. I haven't opened this in 7 years, she said, key trembling in her hand. You don't have to do it now, Chidi said gently. Yes, I do. Hiding from grief gave me power but cost me humanity. She unlocked the door. Inside, a child's bedroom, preserved exactly as it had been. Toys neatly arranged. Books on shelves. A small bed with princess sheets. Photographs covering the walls, a little girl laughing, playing, living. Senator Okafor walked to the center, touching things carefully. This was Chioma's room. After she died, I couldn't change it. Couldn't clear